So I just got home and I have hat hair because it was cold outside and I look terrible, but I'm really in the zone right now, so I want to fill you in on what happened when I drove home from work today. So I'm driving home from work today and I meet everyone, all the Target's favorite gang of gang stalkers in their little convoy, on the way home from work, and they do the same thing when you go into work. And this guy cuts me off. He's in the fast lane and I'm in the slow lane. He cuts me off, almost hits me right in front of me. I'm like, no big deal, that's pretty standard fare. This happens all the time, no big deal. But then there's another person coming in the fast lane, coming up on me fast. And then right when she gets to me, it was a her, and right when she gets to me, she slows down and just happens to go the same speed as me. So I look over to her and I wave like, hi, how you doing? And of course, I look over and she's got her head, hunched down like this, looking all sheepish, and she kind of has a grin on her face, but she's looking like a statue and she's just looking straight ahead, pretending like nothing's going on. So I'm like, oh, this is how it's gonna go, huh? So I turned on my high beams and I flashed it to the guy that just cut me off. And I kept him on, and I was riding his ass like the whole way home. And the thing is, in that situation, they want to push the envelope just enough so that you'll do something stupid, like you'll start ramming them or you'll break their windows or something like that. But I'm battle tested. I know how this works. I know they're trying to push me over the edge. In the past, if you didn't know gang stalking was going on and this is happening, I bet you they've got countless people to flip out this way, but I know exactly what they're doing. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to fall for it. So I just have this controlled anger where I know the line. I know how far I can go to piss them off, but not go too far myself. Because if you do go too far, obviously everyone in that area is going to be recording it, and then they're going to bust you. So what I did is I had my high beams on. And of course, what's funny is the guy ahead of me did absolutely nothing. You would expect a normal person to go like, at least get a little ticked off, at least, maybe brake check you and be like, or they might stop their car and say, what the hell are you doing? But no, this guy just looks straight ahead because he knows he's guilty. He knows he's in this bullshit cult or whatever. So, and then when I get on the way home, this is something I've been noticing for the past week. There's like this drone flying in the sky with a spotlight right on me. I mean, it could be a drone, it could just be some type of aircraft, but it's definitely a spotlight shining right on me. And it's hovering back and forth in the background. I'm going home north on the highway. And, down in the south I can see him. And the same thing happened this morning when I was going into work. Off in the distance I would see this drone with a spotlight flying back and forth, and then the same cars, flying by me and harassing you, and that whole convoy thing they do. And we came across this gang stalking stuff like 5 years ago or so. I believed very little of it. I was like, no way, they're talking about, being able to read your thoughts and, saying something in your head that you were thinking and someone repeats it, somewhere else. I'm like, either they're trying to discredit gang stalking or they're trying to connect dots that aren't there. But, 5 years later, I can say definitively that that's not the case. All this stuff happens and then some. I mean, even the story I shared is pretty tame compared to what probably a lot of other targets have been through. And I haven't even gone through a fraction of what all these other people are claiming. And I don't know about a lot of the claims that some of these other targets are making, but you know what? I don't doubt it for a second. I think about it and I'm like, some of it might not be true, some of it might be true, but I don't immediately dismiss anything because trust me, when you've been through this stuff, you cannot even believe, what planet you're on when this stuff's happening, because you're like, I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe they're putting all these resources into just these certain individuals. And it's not just me that it happens to. I think the only way I can fathom that this happens is that they move on from like target to target, from activist to activist. Like, you know, as soon as one activist or target's in the area, they shift this whole gang or this whole group towards them, and then when they're out of the picture, they go back in their house. Then they go, you know, then they go to the next nearest location and they do the same thing to another person. So it's not like, you know, it's not, I know they try to make it seem like, oh yeah, it's, you think you're so important, it's all about you. They're doing it to a lot of other people too. And also they're not putting a, you know, 24/7 heavy harassment surveillance on certain people all the time. I've noticed most of the time it's really not that bad, but maybe once a month or once a week, sometimes you'll get that really heavy harassment that's noticeably heavier than it usually is. And I think that's when, you know, whoever's behind all this crap, like the NSA or whatever, you know, they're like, okay, we're really going to go heavy on this guy today, you know. All right, what's he thinking about lately, and what are the things he's afraid of? Let's, like, you know, let's try to set up this scenario for this guy or whatever. And all right, when we're done with that guy, we'll move on to this guy. I think it kind of works like that. But anyways, just keep kicking ass, everybody.